2015 was a really impressive year in terms of quality releases, but I couldn't possibly play them all. But of the ones I did, these are my top video games of the year. Of course, keep in mind that these are in no specific order, so be sure you stick around to make sure your favorite game made my list. Ori and the Blind Forest is a gorgeous open-world platforming adventure game that I adored from way back in March. If you love those old-school Metroid and Castlevania games, and that playstyle, well, Ori is for you. Up next is Bloodborne. This game had it all, a horrific atmosphere, terrifying enemies, and a difficulty that may or may not have made me cry myself to sleep. Bloodborne is not for the timid, but it's easily one of 2015's best. Back in June, Rocksteady Studios finished their Arkham trilogy with Batman Arkham Knight. Sure, the PC version of this game was kind of a hot mess, but the console versions fared much better. The game introduced the Batmobile and was one of the best looking titles of the year. If you didn't play The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt, you need to do that right now. This massive open world action role-playing game was a joy to roam and explore, and is probably the largest game in terms of scale and scope that you'll ever play. So I had a Rocket League addiction for 3 months straight. From seemingly out of nowhere, the game became one of the year's most addictive online titles. The rules are simple. 2 teams of cars have to bounce a ball into the other team's goal, but its frenetic pace and action made this a competitive gamer's dream and solidified it as an esports instant classic. In one single release, Nintendo was able to unlock the dreams of a generation with Super Mario Maker, giving Wii U owners access to a legacy of Super Mario Bros. Assets spanning across multiple generations. Endless potential and an infinite amount of downloadable levels makes it one of 2015's most impressive releases. The Wii U also had one of the year's best online shooters. Splatoon's third-person team-based multiplayer proved to be a winning formula out of the gate, with players competing to cover a map with their team's paint, all while battling it out with paint-based weapons and abilities. 2015 also saw the return of Snake in Metal Gear Solid 5: The Phantom Pain. This game delivered on nearly every level, weaving an intricate and bizarre story into the Metal Gear universe. Stealth and action gameplay were all top-notch. The game introduced new play styles as well to the series. I had a blast this year with Until Dawn. This PS4 exclusive put you in control of a winter cabin teen horror story. Now, I'm sure you've played these butterfly effect games before, but Until Dawn actually pulled it off in thrilling fashion. We went back to the wasteland this year in Fallout 4, the worst kept secret in gaming. Sure, it played a lot like Fallout 3 and New Vegas, but exploring the Commonwealth, building settlements, and looting the world never felt so good. Rise of the Tomb Raider seemed to improve on the 2013 reboot in multiple categories, including my personal favorite, more tombs. Rise of the Tomb Raider featured gorgeous environments, jaw-dropping action sequence, and like 30 fights with bears. 2015 was another stellar year for indie games, and Undertale might be the year's best. It's an endlessly clever and at times flat-out hilarious RPG with a unique combat system and totally memorable storyline. I also loved Axiom Verge, another throwback title with a retro art style carved from that Metroidvania age we all grew up playing. But the way Axiom Verge combined old and new school gaming tropes is what made it shine and kept me glued to my seat. Kerbal Space Program really surprised me this year, proving itself as a really compelling, if totally silly, space simulator. This one had endless replay value as you attempt to launch tiny Kerbals into space without accidentally killing them all. And finally on my list is Life is Strange, a narrative-driven tale that thrives on the woes of being a teenager. I've heard this one described as Donnie Darko meets My So-Called Life, and if that's not enough to get you interested, well, I don't know what is. So there you have it. These are my favorite games of 2015. Like I said at the top, I couldn't possibly play everything the year had to offer, so be sure to sound off on Twitter and let me know what you loved in 2015.